Hello, my name is Shauna Henry. My paper subject is, or title is, Will We Continue to Choose One Person's Belief Over Another's Rights? I believe in God and was raised in a church, but I do not believe in imposing my religion on others. It is unfortunate that in 2018 a group commonly known as Religious Right does not hesitate to do that and never has. The idea that people have inalienable rights was not new when the Declaration of Independence was written, but that document managed to sum up the concept in a single sentence, and it simply stated, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." It never mentions Christianity or religion. It never tries to define God. It just says human beings have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but any rights that can be stripped away by something as intangible as someone else's religion beliefs does not seem like much of a right. The United States has a long history of such things, just as they had their religion to support slavery in the less than a century before. Southern politicians and ministers alike used the Bible to justify the support of segregation and other laws commonly referred to as Jim Crow laws, meant to strip African Americans of civil rights. Despite this clause forbidding the government to play favorites, Christianity has always been the majority religion in the United States and therefore exerted an enormous amount of power over the day-to-day lives of American citizens, even those of other faiths or no faith at all. Things our grandparents grew up with, such as prayer in school, led to Jewish children being forced to recite Christian prayers or running the risk of drawing error from Christian classmates if they refused to. Conservative Christian political groups have always been on the wrong side of the issue of race and have not fared any better when it comes to women's reproductive rights. When artificial birth control in the form of condoms and diaphragms became available in the late 19th century, conservative Christian groups lobbied the U.S. Congress to make it illegal for all American women, married or single, Christian or non-Christian, to use them. When the birth control became available in 1960, conservative Christian groups made it illegal in 26 states for single women to purchase it. It's remarkable to me that when my mother was born, married women in some states still had to get a note from their husbands to purchase birth control, and single women were simply prohibited. But starting in 1960s, minorities, including African Americans, non-Christians, women, and the LGBT community began asserting their civil rights, most of which had been infringed upon by the laws enacted by conservative Christian political groups, now commonly referred to as the religious right. Since then, Christian prayers have been removed from schools. Schools have been desegregated and Jim Crow laws have been taken off the books. Universal access to contraceptions by anyone seeking it has been made legal. Abortion on demand, which according to the CDC have a safety record of 99%, are legal. But after losing in court on everything from abortion to gay marriage, the religious right has begun using state versions of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act as a way to inflict the beliefs on others. The federal version of the law passed in 1993 was a response to the Supreme Court ruling that said the federal government was not in the business of letting personal conscience overrule federal laws. And their conservative Justice Anthony Scalia wrote a majority that it was legal for the government to restrict the practices of a religion so long as the religious restriction applied to all religions equally. And the court felt that making this exception would open the government to making religious exemptions from civic obligations and almost every conceivable kind. So in 1993, the bipartisan bill called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act was passed. and it said that the government should attempt to make exceptions and accommodations to religious beliefs. Since then, it's been used to justify everything from corporations denying women insurance for coverage of contraceptions to churches attempting to bypass zoning laws. Pharmacists in many states can now opt to not sell birth control to single women and not at all if they choose. Pharmacists don't have to stock or sell the Plan B or morning after pill if they feel it offends their sense of morality. Moreover, they don't even have to tell anybody where it can be found or purchased. According to Karen Brower, the president of the conservative religious group Pharmacists for Life International, she states that it's like saying, I don't kill people myself, but let me tell you about the guy down the street who does. According to her, helping anyone in any way in this nature is a violation of her beliefs, and that mine or anybody else's, don't matter. In many states, including our neighbor to the south, county clerks don't have to issue a marriage license to the same-sex couples if they so choose, and will not be fired for their refusal. Christians are charged with living in a godly manner, but the religious right works constantly to expand their ability to use the power of the state to impose their beliefs on others. Susan B. Anthony famously summarized the problem by stating, I distrust those people who know so well what God wants them to do because I notice it always coincides with their own desires. Unlike the daily needs for human beings, the existence of God or his desires cannot be scientifically proven or known. God is not tangible and therefore is open to becoming whatever someone desires him or her to be. A racist can look at him and say God might be an old white guy and Jesus a fair-skinned young man with blue eyes. To a feminist, God may be a woman. And to an African-American family, God may be dark-skinned, and so on and so on. And why not? So long as religion is about one person and their relationship with God, what difference does it make? But when allowed to mix with politics and the power of the state, religion complicates the human experience because religion is literally anything anyone says it is. Alan Goodwin, columnist for the Boston Globe, writes, how much further do we want to expand the reach of our individual conscience? Does the person at the checkout counter have the right to refuse to sell condoms? And does a bus driver have the right to refuse to let off customers in front of a Planned Parenthood clinic? How long will it be before a pharmacist filling my birth control pills can refuse me because I am not married? Anita Allen, a law professor of the University of Pennsylvania, seems to agree with the Justice Scalia, and she states, if you open the door to this, I don't see any place to draw a line. If a pharmacist is officially sanctioned as a moral arbiter of the drugstore, does he then ask the customer whether the pills are for cramps or contraception? How far do we go? Having witnessed the misery brought on by mixing religion with politics in Europe, Thomas Paine, in the last line of Common Sense, wrote, and here without anger or resentment, I bid you farewell, sincerely wishing that as men and Christians ye may always fully and interpretably enjoy every civil and religious right, and be, in your turn, the means of securing it to others, but that the example which ye have unwisely set of mingling religion with politics may be disavowed and reprobated by every inhabitant of America. As precedent as it might sound, it's not. We have had centuries of attempting to mix religion with politics. Anyone who has studied the matter, as I'm sure Thomas Paine and Anthony Scalia did, knew that the results would be very predictable, be a very predictable mess that we find ourselves in today. And I only wish that we had heeded their warnings. Thank you.